Hi, we have a loud instrument, so practicing is a challenge. Even when people say they don't mind, you still feel self-conscious rehearsing the same line 50 times in a row to get it right. So I've been experimenting with practice mutes for years. They're not ideal. You don't play the same, so as soon as you get back to the open configuration, things are different. You develop bad habits. I've had the silent brass setup from Yamaha. They're very quiet indeed. I've got both versions, the older one and the more recent one. They said that you can actually use them for recording, but even the intervals are wrong. And the sound's not very good when you record them with the amplifier reverb box thing. I've also got Humes and Berg mute, which is more open, more free-flowing. There's less back pressure, but still, it's not the same as playing open. I've been also trying some in-between solutions, like the Schmute Whisper, which is a more open version of the normal Schmute, practice mute. The Whisper one is halfway between a jazz mute and a practice mute. So it's a fairly quiet jazz mute. Cotton inside a cup mute. This is the Dennis Week cup mute. The cotton does help. It dampens the sound a little, and I prefer the sound of it with the cotton, so I permanently keep it in. There's also the solution of using a Harman mute. Pretty quiet, but it's also very different from playing open. I've been meaning to make some kind of enclosure that would not interfere with the trumpet's acoustics. Something bigger than a mute, but smaller than a large soundproof cabin. I'm a radio frequency engineer, but I have some knowledge in acoustics since some of the concepts are the same between the two fields. This is prototype 1. It was never meant to be a final solution. I used 2 plastic buckets, made a hole for the trumpet bell, which was originally smaller. I filled the bottom bucket with old clothes and rags, and lined the other with a padding from an old coat. The hole was smaller than the bell. I used slits on either side to slide the bell in. It worked pretty well, surprisingly. As an experiment, I cut a larger hole, making it effectively an open box. As I feared, it destroyed the performance. You have to understand that a trumpet isn't a laser beam. A lot of the sound is diffracted to the back. Let's say you manage to block 3/4 of the acoustic power by treating the front half. That would only give you 6 dB attenuation overall. So you need some kind of flange located behind the bell. I also felt that I needed more volume to keep the resonant frequency lower than what a trumpet usually produces, the lowest harmonics of the lowest note. I also thought I'd needed stiffer and heavier material and not a round design, because it makes the reflecting surface parallel to the sound source. For the final box, the idea is that the sound wave encounters progressively denser layers as it propagates. So I used 4 types of materials. The box itself is made of fairly thick 18mm MDF. That's about 8 kilograms just for the empty box. I chose the dimensions so it fits on the shelf in my wardrobe. Then I stapled 3 layers of heavy fabric to the inside of the box. It's sold as sound-absorbing curtain for theaters, I think. At the bottom of the box, I put a block of home insulation material made of recycled cotton fabric. Then I added acoustic foam. I put more layers at the bottom. The wedge pattern means I can interlock them together. One note about this lightweight soundproofing foam you find everywhere: it doesn't do much below 1 kHz. It just makes the sound a little bit dull by knocking off the higher harmonics. You see, I put it between the microphone and my mouth, and it doesn't change much. If you wanted to completely soundproof anything only using this, you'd need a lot of it. I also made a velcroed board so I can adjust the opening. The trouble is it's not very convenient to play this way. I found that this setup is pretty good for recording by just placing a microphone or a sound recorder at the bottom of the box. If you're really picky, there's a very slight pop on some attacks, which I believe is due to the release of air resonating in the cavity. You don't hear it from the outside, only on the recording. On the spectrum plot, you can see it as a lump around 70 Hz, which is lower than any note a trumpet should produce. So I just apply a 150 Hz low-cut filter, which nicely gets rid of it without impacting the rest of the sound. Of course, there's zero reverb, which feels unnatural, so I just add some in Audacity or Cubase's. Compared to both my silent brass and their integrated microphones, the sound is way better in my opinion, and the tuning is exactly the same in or out of the box.